Dear students, let's learn a chapter called Equity Shares, one of the most important chapter of 12th grade as it carries almost 12 marks. This chapter is considered to be a very tough chapter compared to any other chapters because it challenges your understanding with regards to journal entry. So let us learn what are the journal entries and how do we do it. So let's move on to the first PPT slide.
Let's look into the very first slide to understand the theory part of this chapter. Let us assume that a new company is getting formed called Emirates Petroleum. The promoter goes to the government department and tells the plan, and the government says that in that case, looking into the plan, we can give you an authority to collect 50,000 rupees from the public. Now, this is where we understand that if my share value is 10 rupees, I can issue maximum shares, that is 5,000. It is called authorized capital, the maximum amount which a company can collect. Now, after that stage comes the issued capital. Issued capital is where the company goes to the stock market and issue the number of shares based on the amount to be collected. Not necessarily the company needs 50,000 on day one. They might require just 30,000 for that year or maybe for coming 1 month. So they will issue only 3,000 shares. Now 3,000 share is in the stock market. What happens next? Anyone who passes the stock market look into your equity share and they will plan to buy or they might not buy it. So if all the 3,000 shares are being subscribed, that means being purchased by the public, it is called fully subscribed. If you don't have a good reputation or probably it's a very new company, there might not be a lot of people who have subscribed for it. Maybe 2,000 or 2,500 shares are subscribed. That is called under subscription. There is also a case where there can be oversubscription. Now there are different people from different parts of the world who is applying for the shares. So when they apply for it, there can be a chance that number of shares applied are more. Okay, so this is called oversubscription. When it is oversubscription, company decides if they want to cancel some subscribers request or something else they want to do, they will do it accordingly. So these are the three criterias. This whole thing help us to understand three important points. One is authorized capital, second is issued capital, and third is subscribed capital. Now this 10 rupees which is there in front of you, this 10 rupees has got a name and we call it as nominal value or face value of the share. But this face value will change as time passes. Like when the company grow, the company will not sell the share at 10 rupees. They might sell it for 12 rupees. That extra 2 rupees is called your share premium. You can call it as share premium reserve. So that is the benefit the company is going to make because of the reputation company has generated. So this is another point which we have to understand. Now this 10 rupees company can take at one go or can take it in different installment. And this is what has happened over here. The company is not taking 10 rupees at one go. At the time of application, that means when a subscriber applies, he has to use this envelope and put 5 rupees is the value. So if he is taking 1,000 share, he will put 1,000 into 5. That is 5,000 in this envelope and he will give it to the company. After this stage, company can ask allotment, first call, second call. It can go up to third, fourth, fifth call depending on the company, purely depending on company's discretion. So this is how it is. So in this PPT slide, things what we have to understand is public will make the payment using these envelopes. Okay. and this is how they make the payment of this 10 rupees. So how many shares you are having, based on that the amount you will put in this envelope. All right, this is just an uh, image which I want you to understand or keep it in your mind. There are some important points over here. You have to go through it. It's very easy points. Try to understand each and every point. Okay, issued, yes, for example, issued capital cannot be more than authorized capital. The company cannot issue 6,000 shares because company know government has only given them the right to collect 50,000. Company can collect money only if the minimum subscription is 90 percentage. These are the rules which comes as a one marker. Now what has happened? How many shares company has issued? 3,000. So only and only 2,700 shares are subscribed. That is 90%. Only then company can move forward. If it is less than 90 percentage, that means public is not having the confidence in this company and government will not allow them to collect the money. They have to refund back the money. That's what it means. For debenture, it is 75 percentage. Equity share, whenever you issue at par. That means the 10 rupees is been issued at 10 rupees, or at premium. That means it is issued at 13. It could be any figure. Premium collected can be utilized for fully paid bonus share, right of preliminary expense, purchase own shares. In many board exams, they have asked, when you collect this share premium, how do you utilize it? So we can use this share premium for issuing fully paid bonus share. Right of preliminary expenses, the expenses which we do at the time of the making or the preparing the organization or the company, or purchasing own shares. These are some terms which are not there for you, but you have to learn it. Employee stock plan option, the name itself tells that this is an option given to the employee by the company, so that employees can buy the share at a price which is lower than the market price. So these are your theory part. I hope these parts are clear. Now let's move on to the next slide, the most important slide. Over here, you're going to learn what are the journal entries. Now, I always tell students that your chapter is based on 4 journal entries ideally. 4 pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4. And how they are similar, I will explain you. First thing is application. So let us read this sum. What does this sum say? They are clearly giving us some details like authorized capital is rupees 1 lakh, that means 10,000 shares. Company issued 6,000 shares and planning to collect 4 at application, 3 at allotment, 2 at first call, 1 at final call. Public subscribed 5,000 shares. So now let us imagine that Mr. Ram, okay, is a subscriber who is going to subscribe for 1,000 shares. So what will he do? He will go to the stock market. He will pick this envelope called application. He will put 1,000 into 4 in this and give it to the bank of the company. So if there are 5,000 subscribers, they all will do the same. So the first entry would be bank account debit to share application. This is the envelope you are using, share application. So it is 5,000 into 4. Now once the company gets this money, what will company do? They will put that money in the share capital. This 10 rupees is what share capital is. And how you are collecting this 10 rupees? Using all these envelopes. So this is the first entry. Now after this entry, company will sit and decide who will get how many shares. Now since it is a case of under subscription, company will give all the shares to the people who applied. But if imagine if somebody had applied for 7,000 shares, then company has got only 6,000. So that is a case of over subscription, which we learn later. So this case is a very simple thing. Public subscribe for 5,000 shares and company has given 5,000 shares. Now, after this first step, this sequence of journal entry, the sequence of journal entry will change. Why it will change? Because the company is going to demand the money by passing a due entry. The due entries for all the next three cases are going to be same. I repeat myself. So the due entry would be, you're asking for 3 rupees from how many subscriber? 5,000. So you're going to write share allotment debit to share capital. Now, in case the company decides to collect a premium at the time of allotment, you have to write to share premium separately. Share premium is the profit company is deriving. So it is different from share capital. Okay. So it never combine this entry, combine the figure and write it in share capital. You have to separately show it because they are two different things. So once you pass this due entry, what happens is emails are sent from the company's end to the subscriber stating clearly that the amount for allotment is due. Now what happens in case of Ram? Ram gets an email stating that 1000 into 3, that is 3000 is due for payment. Ram immediately goes to the stock market, pick up this envelope, put the money and give it to the banker of the company. So the next step is bank to share allotment. Not only Ram, everyone who is supposed to pay, they will pay this way. So this is what the journal entry is. Now after this, what happens? First call, how do you make the call due? First call to share capital. If you see the due entries here, here and here is the same. Okay. Every entry will give you some marks. At least half a mark you will get. It's a comprehensive 8 mark sum. So don't do any mistake in the due entry. So this is how you do it. So now let us imagine two cases. First case is that there is Mr. X who is holding 100 shares, could not make the payment. So what is the amount he is not going to pay? 100 into 2, that is 200. Now that amount is called call in arrears. Call in arrears is basically the money which the company hasn't got despite of asking. That is what call in arrears is. Okay. It can be called as a loss, or you can call it as an asset as well. Why asset? Because it is a outstanding income, right? Call in arrears is an outstanding money which you're supposed to get. So you can call it as an asset or you call it as a loss, whatever you want to call it as. But ideally, call in arrears has to be debited. So in my bank, I will not get 10,000 this time. I will get 10,000 minus 200. Minus 200 because I haven't got that 200 call in arrears. So which I have debited to first call. Now let's say that there is one person who is paying in advance. There can be a case where people pay you in advance. Now Mr. Y is paying 100 rupees in advance. So what happens? You got 100 rupees. Now anything in accounts when you receive in advance, it is a liability. The term is called call in advance and liability has to be credited, right? So this is how you are going to do it. So you will write to call in advance 100 and this amount you are adding to the bank account because the money will come in your bank. So this is how the third entry is. In with this entry, I have taught you two different or two new terms, call in arrears, call in advance. You can consider it as opposite terms. Call in arrears is like kind of an asset because you haven't received the money. Call in advance is the money you received in advance is a liability. So this is how you pass the journal entry. Now after that, when you make the second call due, the due entry is final call to share capital. After this, what will happen? You have to be very careful here. Once you make the due entry, okay, if this case was not there, your entry would have been very simple, bank to final call. But let's imagine that there was a person who had paid in advance. Is he going to pay you again? Obviously not. So your bank account would be 5,000 minus this advance of 100. Okay, so you minus it, and call in advance has to be debited here. Now this is where you have to understand the accounting logic. Why did you credit call in advance? Because it was a liability you got before time. But when it is time to get, will that be a liability? No, you have to cancel it. And how do you cancel a liability? By debiting it. So that is what you did. Call in advance, you debited to final call. I hope this slide is very much clear to all of you. So these are your pillars of doing a comprehensive sum. All the steps have been again written here carefully. Read it. You should understand what it is. So only in application you get the money first, then you transfer to share capital. After this, the sequence changes. Okay, if you see, after that you pass the due entry because company decides when they want, and when they want, they pass the due entry and you get your answers. I hope this part is clear. Now we are moving on to another interesting part, which is called as share forfeiture and reissue. Let us read and understand what has happened in this example. Company has issued 10,000 shares and they are planning to at premium of 3, very important point, and they are planning to collect 5 at application, 3 on allotment, which includes 1 rupees as premium, 4 on first call, which includes 2 rupees premium, and the balance in the final call. Now let us read the 3 cases. Okay, before reading the 3 cases, we will let us understand what is the journal entry for forfeiture. Forfeiture means you are planning to cancel. You remember there was Mr. X who did not make the payment. The company can always have an option of canceling the share. Now, when we cancel the share, what is the first thing we do is we debit the share capital. So the journal entry is share capital account debit. Now, what is the amount to be debited? Number of shares cancelled, that is 100 in that guy's case. Okay. And then into called up value. Now, what is called up value? It's very important to understand. Now, if you imagine that we are cancelling the share at step number 3 for Mr. X who did not pay 100 rupees. What is the called up value? The called up value is the amount of share called till date. So it's not 2 rupees, it's 2 plus 3 plus 4. So ideally the called up value is 7 rupees. Very important point because students considered called up as issue value or the nominal value, that is 10, which is absolutely wrong. Called up means the amount called till date for shares. If there was a premium here, let's say 1 rupees, it will not make a difference because called up value is related to only and only your share. So let's understand this one. Share capital you have to debit. Then you're debiting your share premium. Now, what is the share premium? Which amount you will debit? Only the amount which is unpaid. Very important point. The amount unpaid. If they have paid the premium, you don't have to bother, or you don't have to put it across in the journal entry. But only and only if it has not been paid, you have to debit it. Then comes your share forfeiture. Now, share forfeiture is another thing which students usually make a mess. And the reason is they don't understand what is share forfeiture. It is the amount received till date against shares, not premium. So whatever money you have received against the shares has to be debited. Then comes your call in arrears. That is the amount not received from shareholder. It includes shares as well as premium. So call in arrears, okay, is basically the entire money you did not receive. Share forfeiture, the word share itself tells you that it is related to your share capital. Share premium reserve, only the unpaid premium. I hope these journal entries are clear, because based on this we are going to do all the three cases. Now let's look into the first case. X holding 1000 shares could not pay the allotment money. His share is cancelled after first call. So what is the called up value here? Because the forfeiture is done after the first call, you should include the first call amount. So let us understand what are the figures you will take. 5 rupees you have to take. Will you take 3 rupees? No, because it includes 1 rupees premium. So you're going to take only 5 plus 2, that is 7. And for first call again only 2. So 5 plus 2 is 7 plus 2 is 9. So 9 is your called up value in the very first case. So share capital I have to debit. Now let us understand what's the premium he paid or he did not pay. Since he did not pay the allotment and first call, he did not pay 3 rupees premium. So you have to debit 1000 into 3. What is the amount he must have paid? Only thing he has paid is application, that is 5 rupees. So 1000 into 5. And what is the thing he did not pay? This thing did not pay you. The entire amount he did not pay is the allotment of 3 and first call of 4, 7 rupees. So that's your call in arrears. So I hope the case number 1 is very much clear. Let's look into case number 2. Case number 2, why holding 2000 shares could not pay his final call and shares got forfeited. Final call. What is final call amount? This is 10 plus 3, 13, which you collected 5 here, and then 3 on allotment, 4 on first call. So 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. So out of 13, 12 rupees has been collected. So what you have not collected is the balance 1 rupees, which you are supposed to collect in the final call. Okay. So now what would be the journal entry for that one? The journal entry is very simple. Same thing, share capital you have to debit. But over here, I will not debit the premium. Why? Because he has paid the premium. If the premium is paid, you don't have to mention it. Only and only if the premium is not paid, you debit it. So this is how you understand. So the case 1 and 2 is the best cases, okay, to understand the entire forfeiture part. I hope this is clear to all of you. So then I'll move on. Share forfeiture amount. What is share forfeiture? If out of 10 he did not pay 1, it only means that he paid the remaining 9 rupees. Okay, I always tell share forfeiture is the amount received from the subscriber against shares. Against shares. Look, I have written against shares here. Okay, over here also I have clearly mentioned it is against shares, not premium. So 9 rupees you received. So this is how you do. And then comes your call in arrears. I hope case 1 and 2 is clear. Case 3, I want you to try it by yourself. Let us look into some theory part. Called up, amount called by the company. Amount debited to share capital at the time of forfeiture is the called up. This is what we discussed, right? Paid up is the amount paid by the subscriber. Amount credited to share forfeiture is the amount paid by the subscriber against shares. Paid up and called up usually comes as theory. I hope this part is clear. Now let's quickly move on to the last part, which is called reissue. It is a very interesting part in the chapter because it comes in all the comprehensive sums as well as separate sums. So let us get into that. Let's move on to the last part of your reissue. Reissue means after you forfeit, that is after you cancel, what the company does usually, they reissue the share. Reissue can be fully reissue or partly reissue. Fully reissue is, let's say in the earlier case, we forfeited the, let's say this case, we forfeited the shares, share capital account debit to share forfeiture to call in arrears. Okay, because the subscriber did not make the final payment or the final call payment. So you pass the journal entry. I have done it over here, the forfeiture entry. After that, company has got the right to reissue. At the time of reissue, they don't take the money in installment like first call, second call, third call. No, we don't do that. We simply take the entire money. Okay. So let's imagine we are issuing at par 1000 shares you have cancelled and giving it to Mr. Sham at par. So what will Sham give you? 1000 into 10. So the journal entry would be bank to equity share. Now once you do that, the company, okay, you have to understand this part. This is the final thing in any sum, any comprehensive sum. This is the final thing, that is share forfeiture to capital reserve. Now when we forfeit the share, when we forfeited the share, in this case, we had credited share forfeiture. Now, why did we credit it? Is it a liability? No, it is not a liability. We don't return this money to the subscriber. This is a profit. Okay, and this is a capital gain. That is why it is transferred to capital reserve. So I debited this forfeited amount to capital reserve. Now, why did I transfer the entire thing? Because entire thing has been reissued. 1000 share has been reissued. But in this case, when I am reissuing only 500 shares, in forfeiture amount, I will be only transferring the from the forfeiture amount, the amount to be transferred to capital reserve would be only for 500 shares. So 500 into 9. This is how we do it. I hope you understand these two things. Over here, it is partly reissue. They plan to reissue only 500 shares at par, 500 into 10. Over here, fully reissued. Only difference would be in the capital reserve. If it is at premium, what happens? You are getting more 2 rupees or 3 rupees. So bank account debit to equity share to share premium, immediately you have to transfer this reserves over here. Same thing I have done. Okay, the only difference would be this 1000 would be changed to 500 shares. All right, now let's look into the last case, which is an important case where students usually do small mistakes at discount. Now what happens at discount is that the equity share we are not giving at the original price of 10 but a price which is less than it, that means at 8 rupees or 7 or 9. So you will get bank account debit. Now you will not debit discount because you have collected some profit here. You utilize that profit to write off this discount. That is the reason why you use the word forfeiture. Now, if you didn't had any forfeited amount here, then you will not give any discount. Okay. So this is also one of the questions in the board exam. What is the maximum permittable discount by a company at the time of reissue? That means what is the maximum discount a company can give? The maximum discount the company can give is equal to the forfeited figure. Okay, so over here the maximum discount what the company can give is 1000 into 9, nothing more than that. Okay, this is the discount offered. Now what will happen when you are giving the discount? From this 9000 or 1000 into 9, you gave a discount of 1000 into 2. So what is the profit left? 1000 into 7, that is 9000 minus 2000. Okay, same thing over here. 500 into 9, Okay, this is the figure which I am taking, 500 into 9. So 500 into 9, that is 4500, minus 500 into 2, that is 1000. So ideally you're getting 3500. So this is the last step of this chapter. I hope this part is clear. Okay, now this one is a small working note which I showed to some of my students to understand what is the figure for final call. So what I usually do, I just simply write it down, 10 shares plus 3, and then I write down the uh, amount collected, 5 at application, 3 allotment, 2 first call. So what is left is basically, you understand the final call, that is 1 rupees. Okay, and over here 5 is an application. I have not written allotment first call. It doesn't make any difference whether you write it or you don't write it. Only thing you have to understand, these are the ways of collecting money. You can call it as first call, you can call it as second call, you want to call anything you want, you can call it. So I have just kept it open, okay, because it doesn't matter in this particular sum. What matter is the forfeited figure. I hope this clear. This PPT slide help you to understand the reissue part, very important part. Okay, now there are two keywords which I would always tell students to understand how the reissue happens. If they say the shares have been issued at or for, okay, assuming or as paid up 10, okay, this is like, let's say case number 1, share reissued at or for rupees 9 as fully paid. Now, have we reissued at par, at premium or discount? How do we know? So this is where the keywords come into picture. At and for means the actual money you received. So you received 9 rupees. The word as, it means the assumed value. You are assuming it as fully paid up. Fully paid up means full 10 rupees paid of the nominal value. So you assume something as 10 but giving at 9. So you're giving at discount. So this is where the word discount comes, and we understand with the keyword. Let's look into this, the next one case. Shares are given at 8 as 7 paid up. As 7 paid up means you are assuming 7 but giving at 8. So it is at premium. I hope this part is very much clear. With this, I end the explanation of this particular segment, and now we will quickly look into the balance sheet preparation, which always comes in alternate board exams for 6 marks. Let us learn how to make balance sheet in this chapter. Usually, nobody asks to make a complete balance sheet, but to reflect how the equity is been put across in notes to accounts. So let us understand this one. Now, the first case where there is 100 rupees unpaid at the time of final call. In such cases, what I usually do is I just make a working note which gives me the entire idea of things. Now, how many shares are there? There are 9,000 shares, right? So I will write 9,000 here. Now, out of 9,000, 100 are defaulters. So it only means that 8,900 has made the complete payment. So now this 100 shareholders would be called as subscribed but not fully paid, wherein this 8,900 are your subscribed and fully paid. This is how you have to differentiate the things. Once you do that, you will understand how to present it in the sum. So over here, once you differentiate this, you can simply write it over here. This is the notes to accounts. In notes to accounts, is basically the elaboration or explanation of this 79,800 what you got. But importantly, you have to use the authorized and issued capital very clearly. You have to mention it. Even if the figures are not given, you have to still write it, because this is a format of company balance sheet. So you will write authorized capital as given over here. If they had not given authorized capital, you would have written authorized capital. You would have written dash number of shares at 10 rupees. Issued capital, that is 9,000. Now, when it comes to subscribed capital, you have got two heads: subscribed and fully paid, subscribed but not fully paid. Under subscribed and fully paid, what is the amount? Or okay, I did a small mistake over here. It is 8,000 shares subscribed, right? It is the number of shares subscribed is 8,000. It's not 9,000. The company has issued 9,000, but it is, this one is 8,000. So this becomes 7,900. So this is the number of shares which has been subscribed. Okay, 7,900, and over here it would be 8,000. Okay, so this is how we do it. And then 7,900 I have represented here. I got 10 rupees, 79,000. Now this 100, how do we represent? It's very important to understand. So 100 into 10 you are asking, that is 1,000. But your call in areas is 100 into 2, that is 200. It becomes 800. So 79,000 plus 800 is what you received. And this is what has been reflected here. Also, there is a premium amount, 2 rupees you collected. Share premium falls under your reserves and surplus. So you'll see reserves and surplus is 16,000. This is how you do it. Now, let's look into case number 2. In case number 2, I have just put it as a continuity of this one. They have planned to forfeit it. Forfeit means they have cancelling it. So what's the journal entry? I have passed a journal entry over here. Share capital to share forfeiture to final call. Now, once you pass this journal entry, you should understand how this one reflect or have an impact on this balance sheet. Share capital, when you debit 1,000, this 1,000 gets disappeared. Share forfeiture has to be recorded, but this call in arrears, again you're crediting, so this 200 will get disappeared. So ideally this whole thing get disappeared. 800 will remain, but with a new title called share forfeiture. So this is as simple as that. Your whole balance sheet will remain the same. Only thing is, what has happened? You have cancelled. That is why this thing has happened. The last case is your case number 3, wherein you are going to reissue it. After forfeiture, you reissue. What's the journal entry? Bank account debit, share capital account debit to SPR. Now, and immediately, okay, the next entry should follow, that is share forfeiture to capital reserve. It means this share forfeiture 800 got converted into capital reserve. So you will see this gets disappeared and it become capital reserve in the next balance sheet. Share capital you're credited, that means you're reissued. So this 7,900, okay, you will add another 100 and it becomes 8,000. So this is how you do your balance sheet. I hope this one example has helped you to understand all the 3 cases: call in arrears, forfeiture, and reissue. You can try this sum. This is one of the toughest sum I have come across in one of the pre-boards of a school. If you can try this sum, I'm sure you will understand how to make balance sheet. You can also try 1 or 2 sums from the textbook. Now we are moving on to the next part, which is called as issue of share in consideration other than cash. This is one of the most easiest part or the easiest segment of this chapter. It has got no relation with whatever we studied till now. This is like you're buying a machinery, and usually what happens, we pay cash. Machinery to cash is the journal entry, but as a company you always have an option of giving equity share. So the journal entry becomes machinery to equity share. The word cash has been replaced. Now instead of machinery we are buying an entire business. Then what happens, you're buying asset as well as liability. Asset has to be debited. Over here we are purchasing from Mr. X 10,000 asset, the entire business. Okay, asset is 10,000, liability is 20. So asset I debited 10, liability I credited 20. At what price? At 40,000. So I wrote 2x 40 because I have to pay x 40,000. Now when I pass this entry, I notice that there is a difference. The credit side is bigger. So what is the difference called? It is called goodwill here. If the difference is in the debit side, you write the word goodwill. It means you have paid more money to that person, maybe because the firm was a reputed firm. So you pay for the reputation. Same thing, if the debit side is bigger, then what happens? You call it as capital reserve. Just now we learned. Now what is capital reserve? It is the place where you put the capital gain. So at times in the people might be desperate to sell the business, and what happens is they sell it at a cheap price. That is where we make a gain, and that gain is capital gain put in the capital reserve. So these are the only two ways of putting it across. Now what is the next step? How you're going to make the payment? Now Mr. X can be paid by cash, by equity, by promissory note. You can use anything to make the payment. Now how have they made the payment in case 1? They paid 10,000 in cash and remaining in equity of 10. So out of 40 you wrote 2 cash 10 and remaining 2 equity share. Okay, so it's become very simple. But over here in case number 2, they have issued the equity share at a premium of 5. So how do you understand how many equity share you have issued? This is again something which students do a lot of mistake here. So you know 30,000 has to be paid by equity. So there is a small formula. Number of share issued is equal to amount paid through equity, that is 30,000, divided by issue value. Issue value is not nominal value. Issue value is basically the value at which the equity share has been given. So this is 10 plus 5, 15. Over here the issue value is 10. Okay. So when you divide 30 by 15, you understand the number of shares you're going to give is only 2,000. So how do you write it? 2 equity share, 2,000 into 10, this 10 rupees, okay? And the premium is what? 5 rupees. So this is where we understand how to record it. If you don't use this formula, you will go wrong. In the textbook, they have written number of share issued is equal to purchase consideration divided by issue value. Now purchase consideration over here is 40,000. So if you write 40 here, the entire sum goes wrong. Okay. So it's not purchase consideration. It is the amount to be paid using equity. So you have to be very sure about this part. This same thing is there for debenture as well. In debenture, apart from first and second, there is third case where debenture is issued at discount. So 10 rupees debenture has been issued at a discount of, let's say, 3 rupees. So your issue value will become 7. That's the only change. Otherwise, everything is same. Because it is discount, it would be debited. SPR you credit, right? It's a profit. Discount is a loss, you debit it. Same way you can make the payment to promoters as well as underwriters. If you are making payment to promoters for the incorporation expenses, you pass a due entry, expense to promoter, and then promoter to equity share. Same thing, commission paid to the underwriter, commission to underwriter, and then underwriter to equity share. In 11th grade, you have come across a lot of journal entries, no? Commission to be paid or commission paid 10,000, you wrote commission debit to cash. It happens in sole proprietor. You straight away make the payment. But when it comes to company accounts, you pass a due entry and then you make the payment. With this, we have completed 90% of our chapter. Okay, the last part is oversubscription, which I will tell you in the next video or in the next PPT slide. Thank you.